Good evening, everybody. It is obviously a tremendous emotion to be here. And Greg has already thanked you all and thanked Raphael Yogier and UM6B France for holding this wonderful celebration. Unexpected like Omega. We never ever dreamt that there would be such a celebration for the Omega number. We didn't even remember that it was 50 years since it had been proposed. So it is really a great pleasure to be here. I don't want to take too long. Wonderful things have been said, very precise, perceptive about Omega. Since I am Greg's wife and also partner in work, I would like to maybe share with you a little bit of this experience, which is something that other speakers, other friends could not talk about. So, when I met Greg, I'm an epistemologist. I work with intertransdisciplinarity within epistemology, different systems of knowledge, different forms of rationality. This is my area of specialty. And when I met Greg in person, I had already read a couple of his books. I had cited his work in a paper. But there are two things I wanted to share with you that as an epistemologist, I always found so attractive, epistemologically speaking. The title, The Decline and Fall of Reductionism in Pure Math. This is just wonderful to hear. The Decline and Fall of Reductionism in Pure Math. What a title, right? The other one that I also like, because I'm an epistemologist, is epistemology as algorithmic information theory or as information theory. And then, you know, I had never thought of epistemology as information theory, not in wildest dream. And I said, what does this mean? How does this come to be? And then when I started reading more and attending Greg's talks, because this is not a topic, at least not for me, that was like immediately graspable. It took me time to really get down to understanding the concepts well. And you understand a concept well when you finally realize that you can think your own thoughts using that concept. It's not that's what I think is when you appropriate yourself and of the concept of its meaning. And there is one simple way of saying what is it to understand, what is it to know in algorithmic information theory. That is to compress. And I wondered, how could this be? Understanding is compressing. And then I had to turn into the whole conceptual context of what is information, what are things, ontologically what is something, and what is it to think about objects as compressible into the shortest possible algorithm that would calculate those objects. So this is a wonderful exercise. It was a wonderful exercise for me as an epistemologist who was not a computer scientist, to think differently. It's a different form of reasoning. It's a different form of understanding. And this is what, in my profession, I like to do. I like to navigate through different forms of reasoning. So meeting Greg was obviously intellectually stimulating and attractive. It sort of also, how can I say, transposed this attraction to an emotional, personal attraction that is also very much bathed by this idea that is the Omega idea. about the irreducibility and uncomputability, about the indeterminacy, unknowability, which is, I think, love, even if you're not in love with a mathematician, right? But it is another way of expressing love, right? So this is maybe, well, I could talk about our intellectual partnership in metabiology, just because it's like our first child. We have 2 children, real children, 4.5 and 6.5 years old, but before that we had metabiology together. So I would like to just say a couple of words. Greg was developing metabiology in bed. Sometimes he would have paper and pen and would jot things down on a piece of paper. Then in the morning we would have breakfast. He would go and write a little more and think and write, and then suddenly he said, I think I have something. And this was a process. I'm not going to describe the entire process here, but I just wanted to share with you that coming up with a theorem, and coming up with a theorem that is considered beautiful by the mathematician, is not something that happens just like this. It takes time. It takes dedication, time. Wives were usually, thanks for their patience, for their whatever, with the absence of the husband. I am happy, and I'll admit, I'm proud to say that I was not only patient, I also participated in the process. And it was obviously a wonderful endeavor to work together with Greg. Coming up with new ideas and jotting them down on paper, and coming up with a theorem is painful. It's painful. And the business of thanking the wives for being patient and understanding is also the case, because the person who is working on something that has a real importance for him, for her, can be in a bad mood sometimes. So yes, the wives should also be thanked for their patience and understanding. Just a little something about the beauty of the theorem. This is because I'm an epistemologist, I have to end at that. Greg had a theorem that was not beautiful because he was doing a theorem on metabiology, which was trying to express mathematically some of the main features, I call them like the main principles that drive evolution, an interplay between randomness, uncomputability, and creativity, to explain the evolution of life, to explain the appearance of new genes in the gene pool, to explain the diversity of life that we observe. So it is a totally different approach. It's an open-ended evolutionary path. Between the original and the final formulation, there was a question that is a wonderful intellectual criterion of beauty. Beauty associated to simplicity, right? And this is my epistemologist in all this. And when the theorem became beautiful, the mutations had to be algorithmic mutations. They were not point mutations, SNPs and indels like you do have. I mean, how biology thinks it happens in real, let's call that biology in the real biological realm. And this made Greg initially think, my model is becoming so distant from biology. And I, as an inter-transdisciplinary epistemology, asked him, let's ask a biologist. What are the events in biology that are not well explained by indels? What happened during the Cambrian explosion? Maybe this beautiful theorem that is so theoretical has something to say to, quote, real biology. There are many unanswered questions that sometimes a beautiful theorem can answer. Mathematical theorem can answer about natural phenomena. So this is how I would like to end, and thank you if I took too long, but I got carried away.
Merci pour ce témoignage de l'intérieur, effectivement. Et maintenant, nous allons rentrer dans le vif du sujet. On va faire travailler Raphaël Lieugier et